Great. We're gonna get killed by Murder Barbie.
Hi, my name is Christian Moran of LatinHorror.com, and I'm here with co-writer of Freaky, Michael Kennedy.
I said, hey, thanks for having me.
That's me, Millie. Ordinary, boring Millie.
I love your dress. I think I saw it at Discount Bonanza.
Okay, so I was never the most popular.
Where are you from?
Where I'm from? Okay, well,
Yeah,
I'm
just bring it out. Where are you from?
Cleveland.
What
From
made
Cleveland,
you?
Ohio.
How you grew up?
From Cleveland, Ohio. I was born and raised there, and I stayed there after school. You know, I graduated college. I went to a state school in Ohio and graduated from there in 2003. And then I kind of meandered around, to be perfectly honest with you. I knew I always wanted to come out to LA, but I just kind of did like the traditional Midwest thing where I got a gig after college. I actually did so many different things. I worked at a restaurant. I worked at Enterprise Rent-A-Car. And then for like the last 4 years, I was in Cleveland. I worked a sales job while also weirdly coaching high school volleyball. I played volleyball in high school and college. You know, I would probably consider volleyball like my second passion after writing. I haven't played in forever. I really miss it. But so I did that for like 3 or 4 years. And finally in 2008, I was 28 and was like, enough is enough. I'm going to pick a date to move to LA. Because I got to a point where I figured if I didn't do it soon, I would never do it. And I come from a big Irish Catholic family in Cleveland. I'm the youngest of 7 kids and, you know, very traditional family in a lot of ways. And someone moving just wasn't like a thing that my family did. And it's not a lot of people in Cleveland tend to stay in Cleveland. So it was hard to make that decision because it's not that I didn't have support. It was just mostly like, stay, you know? But I picked the date on the calendar and saved every penny I could. I actually moved back in with my mom and dad the last year I was home and moved out here in January of 2009. For the first like 9 months, I wasn't working because I couldn't find a gig, but then I started bartending to make ends meet. And then thankfully through a weird connection back in Cleveland, I was able to get a PA job on the show Family Guy because the showrunner was from Cleveland. So he managed to get me in as a PA. And I just, you know, from that point on, I just kind of paid my dues and worked my way up. For 2 months, I ran and got coffee and that kind of stuff. And then I got promoted to the supervisor of the PAs. And then from there, I got promoted to the assistant to the animation producer, and I did that for like 3 years. I assisted her for 3 years, while also just really learning how to write. I moved out here thinking I knew how to write and quickly realized being in the actual business itself, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So I spent those like first 3 or 4 years just really gobbling up any script I can get my hands on, reading samples. I think I read every person who was staffed on Family Guy at the time as a writer. I think I read every single one of their scripts that got them hired on the show.
Yeah.
And just really learned what it took to actually write. And weirdly enough, I came out here to do film, but then found myself in TV. So I learned TV writing that way.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it was cool. And then at that point, I started feeling confident in my own work. I was writing on the side and stuff, and I wrote this pilot at the time, and I gotten close enough with the Family Guy writers that I asked the new showrunner at the time to read it, and he did read it and he liked it. And the team over there would, if they liked someone's script, they would kind of pass it around amongst each other, and that's what happened with my script. Is the writing staff kind of traded it with each other. And then one of the writers on the show, who happened to be the guy Mark Hentman, who got me the PA gig 4 years earlier, he was moving on to doing his own animated show for Fox called Border Town. So in like 2013, 2014, I can't really remember the date at this point, but he was staffing up that show and I had that script, got a meeting with him for staffing, and he asked to read another script, and he wanted to read a spec of an existing show, and thankfully I had a spec script for Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Okay.
And he read that and liked it, and he hired me.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
How I got my start, like my first official paid writing gig.
Homecoming's this weekend.
Booker is gonna be at the dance.
And boys never really noticed me.
You have this great kind of like Stand By Me story about your friends and discovering the film Scream.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
You know, that movie came out when I was a junior in high school. I was 16, and I wasn't a fan of horror movies, honestly, at the time. My older brother, bless him, when I was like 8 or 9, was watching Halloween, and he made me start watching it with him. And I think I got about 10 minutes into the movie and was too scared and couldn't finish. And from that point on, I was scared of it. I would even get scared of like seeing a scary movie commercial for like a movie coming out or anything, that I would like run out of the room. So my friends in high school knew this, and we always kind of had like a Friday or Saturday night thing where we would grab food and then go to a movie. And we were at dinner, and I'm like, what are we seeing tonight? And they're like, oh, we're seeing this movie called Scream with Drew Barrymore. I was like, I haven't heard of it. So they lied to me and told me it was a rom-com. Yeah, and like looking back on it, my dumbass should have been like, no rom-com is named Scream. But the reason I bought it is because of Drew Barrymore. But by the time we entered the theater, I saw the poster and I was like, oh shit, this is a scary movie. So I was like nervous before we even got into the theater. And I remember trying to think of like an excuse to get out of there, and I couldn't. So we ended up sitting down to watch the movie. And within 5 minutes, you know, that opening scene is so iconic and so scary, and like it's still scary now. So like for that to be like the actual true first experience for me is like kind of insane.
That's great.
You know, but within 5 minutes I was terrified, but I also realized I was exhilarated. Like,
oh, wow.
You know what I mean? I was 16 in the closet, like just started feeling a connection with what was going on. By the time the opening scene was done, I was like hooked. I was completely hooked on horror. Watching Nev Campbell navigate the movie as Sidney Prescott really changed me, honestly. Like, I describe it as like I could literally feel like my brain chemistry changing, because I so connected with her story as like a closeted queer kid. Yeah. And I remember leaving the theater and like such a high, and being like, I'm going to do that one day. Like, I'm going to do that one day. And then when I found out soon after that Kevin Williamson, the writer, which was his first movie, crazy enough, is an out gay man, like that changed things. Yeah. So I was like, oh, he can do that? Oh, maybe I can do this myself, you know? So that really was the start of it for me. And, you know, it took me 13 years to get out here, but from that moment on, I always wanted to write. I just didn't know what, you know?
Yeah.
Honestly, if this was a horror movie, I'd be one of the first ones to get killed.
Cue the creepy dude in the mask.
Like I said.
When you were writing it, were your intentions was to make something that was having some sort of social commentary behind it, or it was something that you know, just came out naturally in your writing process?
You know, it's kind of a little bit of both. When I initially came up with the idea, I knew that identity would be a big part of it, just because the body switch, you know, just inherently lends it to a path of self-discovery while living in someone else's shoes, essentially. And then when I pitched it to Chris, we realized the potential to discuss some things without being heavy-handed about it. You know, when I initially came up with the concept, I always knew Millie's identity would be a big part of the script. I also knew that Nyla and Josh's identities as well would be a huge part of the script, and really wanted to go in showcasing a Black character and a queer character in a way that you normally don't see in these movies. So yeah, I think any social commentary people are connecting with, Chris and I did it on purpose. But we also went in saying, we're not here to like make a message movie. We want to talk about some stuff, but the first and foremost thing we want people to do is have fun while doing it. So.
He's crazy.
Okay, Booker, can you look at me, please? Please? Booker, please, can you look at me just for a second? Okay, so last night, our consciousness or our spirit, whatever you want to call it, okay, it traded places.
You're all going to jail for this. You too, Booker, unless you help me. Booker!
Dry up, bitch.
You know, the movie was very fun. It was scary. The jokes were amazing.
Oh, great.
What I say is like it's the aftertaste of the movie. And
Okay.
it kind of like hit me. I was like, wow, this is such a great movie about, self identity. Like this, as being a, Latino, a lot of, you know, taboos behind the LGBTQ. And then you have this young girl trapped in an old man's body
Yeah.
and a serial killer body too as
Yeah.
well. There's tons of messages in the movie, especially, like the Booker character in the car and how simple it is for him to just go and kiss another guy.
Yeah, Chris and
You
I
know,
talk about that a lot too. We like the beauty that Chris does with his movies and what we brought to Freaky, and he did a lot of this in Happy Death Day, was we wanted to showcase characters that, like he describes it in Happy Death Day with Carter, Tree's love interest in the movie, about how he didn't want to spend half the movie with Tree trying to convince Carter that she was in this time loop.
yes.
He wanted a character that just was like, okay, I got you. I can help you with this. And we brought that same sensibility to this movie because, so like Millie's character is going through the self-discovery, right? But everyone else around her, we get a little bit of flack from people about Joshua, for instance, because here and there people have said they felt like he was a little bit of a queer stereotype. But Chris and I are like, if the stereotype is like a confident, self-assured gay man, then great, because we definitely did that on purpose because we wanted Millie to know that everyone around her in her life was already self-assured. And to do that with a Black character and a gay character was really important for us, that they weren't spending the whole movie, trying to come to terms with who they are. They already knew who they are, and they're like kick ass in the way, as they know. So like a lot of those themes, like I said, they're inherent in the movie, but Chris and I paid a really close attention to that stuff because, for me with the Booker in the car scene, we discussed that scene a lot. We like, should they kiss? Shouldn't they kiss? Should they almost kiss? Like we went back and forth through all the different options as we were scripting the movie. And Chris and I both kind of had not an epiphany, but both had a realization at the same time. It's like, duh, they should kiss. And it should be so simple and easy. It should be a moment where Booker's like, I'm kissing you, Millie.
It felt very natural. I guess you could say films that treat situations like that, there is like this like negative struggle.
Right.
This was just like, very, can I go back to back there? Let me sit there.
Yeah, and it was like
it was just
for Millie. It wasn't for the other person, where I think another filmmaker besides Chris Landon would have probably had the roles reversed, where Millie in Vince's body would have wanted to kiss Booker and Booker would have been hesitant. And I think also a lot of filmmakers wouldn't have done it the way Chris did it too, and we did it in the script as well, was where we played it completely serious. It's like, it's not meant to be a comedic moment. It's the way we wrote it, it was very sincere and earnest and cute, for lack of a better term. We never played it for comedy. And that was the beauty of like when people read the script, Blumhouse read the script and Universal read the script, Chris and I actually did have a discussion like, okay, what if we get any pushback? We got literally none. And that was so great because it just shows how far we've come with those kind of dynamics.
That's great.
Jason Blum went absolutely apeshit when he read that moment in the script. He was like texting Chris, like he sent Chris like 6 texts in a row.
Oh, wow.
Like, oh my God, this is amazing, about the kiss. And it's like, wow, it's like resonating with like, a cis straight white dude.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we did something right here, and like that's, Chris and I looked at the movie, the comedy and the slasher element, of course, are front and center, but for us, the movie was really about the characters and their identity, in their story, and especially for Millie about inner power, which is why the movie ends the way it does. Not to spoil it for anybody, but the reason it ends with like what may seem like a tacked on scene, it was a very planned scene. Like we went in knowing we have to end it this way because it talks about her entire arc. If we don't end it that way, it felt empty to us.
Guys, he's here somewhere. He's wearing my body and he's wearing my face. He's like a wolf in sheep's clothing. And if we don't capture him first, God knows how many people he's gonna kill.
I think you guys ended it in a correct way, because when you think it's ended, we were like I watched it yesterday with my fiance,
Oh, cool.
and we were there, and we were kind of like emotionally confused because we actually fell in love with the damn serial killer. Vince Vaughn just stole the damn show.
I mean,
You know,
he's
his
good in the
performance.
movie.
Yeah, you kind of like grow an attachment to him.
You
So
do.
when you're there and it's finally over, and you're
Wait
like,
a minute.
wait a minute, but and literally my fiance said, you know, I kind of feel sad because I liked him.
Yeah, I mean, you buy him as Millie. You really do.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have told Chris and I, a lot of feedback we've gotten, which is great, is that the moment in the car is when they really, really go, this is a teenage girl.
Yes.
And it's just so great to hear that, because that scene in the movie is my favorite scene in the movie. When we shot that scene, I was there. It was actually a really emotional night for me. Just to have not only have scripted something like that, but to be watch it, like witness it being shot, was really emotional for me. So it's great anytime we hear anything positive about that scene, because you know, I'm not the type of person that's like, I'm gonna write a message into my movies and people are gonna deal with it, but I knew we were writing something important. And I'm really, really, really thankful it's landing with most people.
Look, I know this is crazy, okay? And there's a lot of voices competing. You see my friends, you know, Nyla and Jocelyn, they're on my side, okay? And this is clearly not me. Have you ever seen me dressed like that? I mean, I kind of like a lot of what he's doing with it, but it's the point is that you've never seen me dressed like that, right? Do you like that? It doesn't matter. I feel like I'm giving you a lot of information and you literally just woke up.
It's kind of like a good feel movie in the end.
Yeah, you know, I read a review last week where they said it's the most wholesome, gory slasher movie they've ever seen. Oh, that's kind of cool. Like, you know, 'cause it really is about family and friendship, which is like so damn wholesome, you know?
And it ends so strong, powerful in a way that after the movie ends, it still sticks in your mind with this good smile. I was like, this.
Oh, good.
The movie has all its, you know, like horror components. You guys bring in the gore. That opening scene, you know, it's crazy.
All credit. I'm gonna give Landon all credit for that. He went nuts.
Yeah. You know, he went
so
nuts.
Cool.
It was great. It's cool. But you know, when overall, when you know you leave, you're like, oh, I can't stop thinking about that scene. You know,
I love that. You know, because I always call it. Chris has this really great knack for infusing heart and humor and emotion into everything he does, and I call it the Landon heart. You know, like he infuses his movie with the Landon heart, and that's exactly what he did with Freaky. Which I think separates it from a lot of movies of its kind, is it's just infused with such warmth, even though, you know, we're splitting people in half and shoving wine bottles down people's throats. And, you know, like,
yes,
Chris like this has this knack of going, okay, what are these characters and why do we give a shit about them around this mayhem? So I'm really glad that's landing with people. You know, especially during this time, I think people are pleasantly surprised when they see the movie and go, oh, wow, there was a lot of warmth there too, you know? It really just honestly, like for a movie that kills like 11 people in fucking gruesome ways, you walk out of it kind of feeling pretty good, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, that was a nice 100 minutes of just fun and energy, and I feel good now, you know, considering the world is on fire around me.
Stop right there.
Help! Oh my God, someone's been a butcher! Help me!
Freeze! Run!
You know, growing up in in Cleveland, how did you feel being in the closet amongst your parents and family?
I mean, it was tough. My family was Catholic and conservative. A lot of struggle, a lot of shame. Yeah, I mean, it was tough. I pretended to be somebody else for over 25 years of my life. There was a lot of anxiety and stress and negative thoughts. And, you know, I wrote an article for Fangoria. It came out about my struggle with identity and stuff. You know, thoughts of suicide. You know, it was the whole gamut.
Oh,
So I know for me, as a person
wow.
who's now out and proud and unabashedly queer and proud of who I am, and I wouldn't have it any other way, I really write that into everything I do now. Because, you know, I think a character like Joshua, for instance, is kind of unseen in the slasher subgenre, especially. And I think it's, you know, we say some stuff, but I also think like the biggest statement we make is like, this is just who this character is, and he's proud, and we're proud of him, and that says more than anything. But I think it's time that people start seeing more of these characters. You know, for you know, the first 35 years of my life, I'm 40 now. Which is great. We got to identify with the Sidney Prescotts and the Laurie Strodes and these beautiful, amazing final girl characters who found inner strength in who they were in themselves and stuff. But I also wanted, as a kid, I was like, I want my hero that's queer, you know? And that was a very conscious decision in this movie. You know, Joshua, when I first conceived of this idea, Joshua existed before Millie. You know, I knew, like, he was just always in my head was like, okay, there's going to be a queer character in this movie, and he's going to be front and center. And then when Chris and I decided to write it together, he was like, let's just go for it with him. He's so sure of himself. Let's just run with that. Like, we didn't want to give him an identity story because he already knew who he was, you know? So yeah, it's just really cool to be able to like showcase a character like that and introduce them to the world.
Well, Michael, I would like to thank you for coming on the show and being so open too. You know, once again, awesome movie.
Thanks so much, Christian. I appreciate it.